So we're going to talk about building wealth through real estate and how we at the Anderson Group in Nashville, how we are purposeful and really digging into the idea of building wealth on purpose for myself, for the legacy, for the team. And so if I could show you guys how to make $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 more per year doing basically what you're doing already, there really aren't a whole lot of tweaks. How many people would be interested in looking into an investment division? Yeah. So I got really purposeful. I've been flipping houses and buying investment properties for probably 12 to 15 years. And I started an investment division in 2023. So it's called Fast Cash Offers Tennessee. And the idea was to be able to have it separate from the Anderson Group and be able to go out and buy properties and really kind of shift all of our marketing dollars on the seller side of the business all to our investment division. So one of the things that we kind of looked at were the idea that we've got four buckets that we route all of our leads into. And so when we look at that, it's buy and hold, it's buy and flip, it's wholesale, and then it's traditional MLS listings. And the idea there was that there's no wasted leads. And we really wanted to, this was in 2023 when the market had shifted from COVID, and we wanted to figure out how do we go get more listings? And it was like, we're going to go create our own listings by finding flips. So I've got 78 doors, all multifamily. And so I'll just go into each one of those buckets. Buy and hold. You guys, everybody in real estate, in my opinion, should be buying real estate as an investment property. And so even if it's one a year, one every other year, if you buy 2 houses a year for 30 years, that's $50 million net worth based on what the median or average home value is in today's market. That doesn't include like cost segregation and doing all the different things. So that's something that I think everybody should think about and like write down and put everywhere is 2 houses a year for 30 years is $50 million net worth. So my first investment property that I bought was probably 7 years into my business, and I bought a duplex. Even though I primarily sell single family homes, I decided to buy a duplex because I liked this idea of if one side's rented. So if you have a single family home and it's not rented, like the bank still wants their money, right? And so it's either rented or it's not. On a duplex, you could have one side rented and it's still paying for the majority of the mortgage. So that was kind of my thought of like taking off some of the risk. So first one was a duplex, triplex, then I got a quadplex, couple of quadplexes, and then I moved up to buying 3 apartment complexes. And it's very difficult to buy and hold in Nashville, Tennessee right now because you can put 50% down and not really make much money. So it is harder in today's market with the rates the way they are. Buy and flip, what I would tell you, so my first property that I flipped was a listing that I had. The listing was, we went through 2 contracts. It was a probate deal. They were settling an estate. And I went to my sellers after the second contract fell through and said, do you guys just want me to buy the property? And they said, sure. And looking back in hindsight, I wish I had bought it and held it. That has probably quadrupled, maybe 5x'd in value since I sold it. But it's one of those things. At the time I bought it for $68,000, put $12,000 into it and made $119,000. And of course my wife was like, wow, this is cool. We should do this more often. And I was like, total beginner's luck. It's not going to happen again. Sure enough, we buy the next property and we made another $100,000. We've actually made $100,000 or more on every flip we've ever done, which I don't say that to brag. I say that more, it's not scalable at all. We would have to go down to probably half of that to be able to do 2 or 3 or 4 times the amount of flips that we do currently. There was actually one property that I made like $5,000 on. It was like the nightmare property that I bought, and it just is what it is. And I'll tell you another story on flips. We had a property close last week. The seller reached out, wanted to sell me the property. I put it under contract for $210,000. went over the day that I previewed it was the day the inspector inspected the home. And I walked in and literally there were 5 books on the ground with a 1x4 with another 5 books holding up the ceiling in the living room on both sides. And that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was probably the fact that I could put my entire hand through the exterior brick. So I was just out. I was like, I'm out, I'm done. I was like in it for $1,000 on inspections. And we ended up traditionally listing the property, and it got 20 offers and it sold for $238,000. I could have bought it for $185. I was under contract at $210. And so point being that like you just missed some opportunities. It was just one of those opportunities, like I was done. I was already out. But our seller was extremely happy. And so I say all this to say, you don't have to hit a home run on every deal. You're going to miss some opportunities. You're going to mess up. If you don't know how to do it, go partner with one of your clients that probably is flipping or buying and holding. The third bucket is wholesaling. And so I'll tell you, wholesaling, I would say check your state guidelines on what you can do. And then from all of our mailers, so primarily the investment division comes from sending out 4,000 to 10,000 mailers every 6 weeks. And so the final bucket is traditional listings. And so we kind of switched up a little bit and started doing cash offers, check mailers, golden letters to buyers and sellers. And so the idea was the majority of all of this ends up being a traditional listing. They come in as a cash offer. They want full price market value. And then you go over to their house and realize they're only going to get 65 or 75% of market value. And so it is a good, what Gary and Jay always talk about, MOFers. It's just a call to action. It's no different than a guaranteed offer that Mark Spain does, or back in the day, there was like 59 days sold, or I'll sell it for free, whatever. It's just to get the phone ringing. So that's the 4 buckets. And I think the nice part about the 4 buckets is the system allows for, there's no waste. It's every lead goes into a bucket no matter what. You're either going to be a buyer and hold it for a midterm or a long term. You're going to flip it, you're going to wholesale it, or you're going to traditionally list the property. So it makes it super simple. It's also a really easy system to like scale with, and a 12-year-old can understand it. So that part makes it super simple. And one of the things Gary mentioned to me early on, it was probably 10 years ago, we were in a mastermind, and he said, you guys have to stop being realtors and you need to be the buyer first and the agent second. And it kind of like smacked me across the face, because I think as realtors, we've learned we always need to be heroes for our clients and we need to go make them money and do all the things. And then you look up 10 years later and you haven't really bought any properties because you're busy, servicing or feeding your clients. And I think we need to be selfish in buying properties. It's kind of, I always tell people, it's a little bit like insider trading. If you're in the stock world, you go to jail for that. In real estate, we get rewarded by buying the property, or you give it to your client. And look, I've made several of my clients millions and millions of dollars. But I think we don't have to buy them all. We just need to pick and choose. We have the opportunity to pick the best ones. So that piece makes it really nice. The next piece that I'm going to go over is called 3 C's. And for me, this is the most important thing that you can do. And by the way, there's going to be a 1-pager on command, or there is a 1-pager on command. But the 3 C's are contract, contractor, and capital. Every single deal that you're going to buy has to have those 3 things. So the contract, obviously you have to have a contract, and speed matters. Like, you can't go follow back up with these leads 2 weeks later. These people are probably getting, they're getting cash offers from other people. You got to go out to the property. You got to answer your phone. You got to do all the things. So you got to get the paper signed. But the other piece is you've got to do enough marketing to get enough inbound phone calls, talk to enough people to be able to get a handful of deals per month that you're either going to buy, flip, wholesale, or traditionally list. So it's a really simple system. The second one is contractor. This is pretty obvious. I would tell you this is the hardest from a reliability perspective. I think you need an army of contractors. I think you need to be 3 deep on every single thing. You need a contractor. You need 3 contractors that can do cabinets, 3 contractors that can do tile, 3 contractors that can do landscaping, multiple handymen, clean out crews. I mean, if you guys have seen some of the properties that I've bought, y'all would just be like, wow. But the nastier they are, the more money you make. So it just, you got to fall in love with that piece of it. But the contractor really is it's a make or break situation to have really great contractors. The other piece I would tell you is your contractor needs to understand your expectations and your goals. My goal, my expectation is always the idea of 90 days. I want to close on it and close on it again to the final end user in 90 days. If I can't do that, then I'm out. I mean, look, if it's 120 days, it's fine. I don't want to flip going on for 9 or 10 months. There's a reason I live in a historic neighborhood in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't buy any historic properties because historic gets involved and it's like an 18-month process. Unless I'm going to make $1 million on that flip, I'm not touching it. So those are the 3 pieces as far as the 3 C's go. And I think that's the most important piece. Then you've got, since we talked about, well, I didn't talk about capital, sorry. Capital, hard money lenders, private money, traditional, HELOCs, cash, whole life policy. You can use all kinds of different types of money. So what I use is, and I think the capital piece is by far the easiest. If you have a great deal, you can find money super easy. It's just very easy to find. If it's a super marginal deal, you'll have a hard time finding money. Or the hard money lender is going to, ask you for a higher rate. I use cash and my whole life policy. And so if you guys don't have a whole life policy and you want to flip houses, it's a good option. Some people are against it. You can borrow up to 90% against the cash value in your whole life policy. So for ease of numbers, if you have $1 million of cash value, you can borrow $900,000 against that policy. The cool part is they're going to lend you your money at 6.5%, maybe 7% right now in today's market. But your whole life policy is making 5 to 6% in the background. So let's just say your whole life policy is making 5% and you're borrowing money at 6.5%. You're borrowing that money for 1.5%. Like, does anybody else get a better loan than 1.5%? Besides lending to yourself. But I don't even get that good of a deal when I lend to myself because I charge myself back so I can justify it. I do. I put it in my investment. I drop it back in my investment account. That's what Uncle Sam tells me you're supposed to do. There's loopholes everywhere. So the whole life policy is great. If you got a HELOC on your house, whatever it is that you can borrow against, use that. It's just, or if you have cash, it's probably, if you have cash, it's, what's it doing? It's either sitting in a checking account, literally making 0, or you've got it in a money market account making 4.75%. So the next thing I would talk about is hard money lending. So you might not want to flip houses. You might not want to do buy and hold. But I would tell you the quietest investment in real estate is probably lending your money. And so the reason I say this is realtors y'all should know your numbers and you should be able to analyze a deal at a pretty high level. And so if you can analyze a deal at a really high level and you have money just sitting and you don't want to really flip it yourself, go lend out the money to either a buyer client of yours or a builder or an investor. I've got multiple hard money deals out right now at 18 and 22%. That might sound ridiculous to you guys, but somebody will pay it. And I'm good with it because they're either going to pay me the 18 to 22% or I'm going to end up with a property at a discounted rate. So I'm good with either one of those options. So, yeah, just to sum it all up, I would just tell all you guys, there's no reason not to have an investment division. You're already doing the majority of the work anyway. And when you have an investment, why invest in real estate? You own the equity, you own the appreciation. You just, you own the leverage. When you're showing houses, or if you're not showing houses, like your money's still working in the background from an investment perspective. Whereas on the traditional real estate side, you're either showing houses and making money or you're not. And so that's the biggest piece I would tell you. And I know we can't go over a ton in 15 minutes because my time's up. And I know you guys all want to go to get a beer happy hour. I'll tell you 4 quick things. One, there is the one pager on command that you guys can dig into. There's a QR code on it. It's got a lot more information. I'm going to be doing a Zoom call, like a 60 or 90 minute. It's a little bit more in depth on this. So if you guys have a business card, you can give it to me afterward, or you can email info@joshandersonrealestate.com. And we're going to send out a link to, that'll probably be in the next 30 days or so. And then the other 2 things, I've been doing a lot of posts on LinkedIn, more so on LinkedIn than Instagram, but you guys can follow me there. And then lastly, if you have Nashville, Tennessee referrals, I want all of them. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you.